Well, Kelly's Court is back in session. On the docket today, the fallout after a 16-year-old girl sitting under a tree with her boyfriend is killed when an out-of-control SUV runs her over, driven by an illegal immigrant. 2 days ago, the family of Clarice Grime laid her to rest. She and her family are legal permanent residents on their way to becoming U.S. citizens, a process Clarice's mother says will go on despite the horrific circumstances that led to her death. Here's how witnesses described what happened.
He bails his car, and then it keeps going, and it runs over the couple. Well, her boyfriend got out of the way, and she was laying there.
I looked, and there was like the girl under the car, and so I think it was the boyfriend or someone, like they helped pull her out under the car.
The driver who lost control of his car is this man, 50 years old and in the U.S. illegally for the second time. He's been kicked out of the country before, was arrested quite a few times. Minnesota state records show he never held a license. His lawyer claims he suffered a medical emergency on his way back from work. What happens to him now? Joining me now, Jonna Spilbor, defense attorney and former prosecutor, and Mercedes Colwin, who is a Fox News legal analyst. So his name is Carlos Viveros Colorado. He came into this country illegally and was ordered deported back in 2001 after being convicted of DWI. So he comes into the country, breaks our laws, DWI, gets sent home. He elects to voluntarily leave. But Jonna, he sneaked back in. And it's not, you got to hand it to the folks in St. Paul, Minnesota, a sanctuary city, because it's not like he sneaked back in and didn't never come back under the police radar. He did. He was arrested a few times, or at least pulled over, found driving without a valid license, convicted of that. They didn't deport him, and now he's killed a girl. Right. Where does that leave us?
This case is sad and infuriating. Here's the series of illegalities. He's living here illegally. He's working here illegally under a different name, driving here illegally, and then he ends up taking the life of a 16-year-old girl. And what's going to happen to him, probably, Megan, is he'll either be deported, and we'll never know what happens to him until he comes back in this country again, or if he's convicted of what he's charged with, which is vehicular homicide, he could get up to 10 years here in prison. But, you know, it doesn't bring back the 16-year-old girl.
Mercedes,
he never should have been on the road.
Is there some reason why this judge set bail for this gentleman at $100,000? Why are we setting bail for somebody who has been deported from the country, who isn't supposed to be here, who's had a series of law enforcement arrests, who's now killed a girl?
Well, $100,000 may not be a lot for some folks, but $100,000 for a minimum wage earner like this is a lot of money. So the expectation was by the judge, I'm certain, that he couldn't post bail, which is why he would remain in custody. And that's probably what was the thinking. Although I'm sure the prosecutor said he's a flight risk. If he's here illegally, we don't know where he actually re-entered the country. But obviously the judge felt that $100,000 was appropriate given his financial wherewithal.
Well, and you got to hand it to his lawyer, Jonna, because he stood up in court and said he's tried to be as responsible as he could under the circumstances, meaning being here illegally. He didn't get a driver's license, but he did get car insurance, so we have that. They claim that it was some medical issue that caused his leg to numb up, and then he hit the gas instead of the brake. And now, ironically, this girl whose parents immigrated here legally lose their daughter as she's sitting under a tree waiting for the school bus, minding her own business.
I know. Their only daughter. Well, thank God for one thing. Thank God for the insurance, because in addition to this guy being criminally liable, and we don't know what's going to happen to him, he's also civilly liable. It doesn't matter that he had the medical emergency. The police reported that he was speeding. That's the reckless part of his driving. You know, in his defense, he could have had an accident with or without a driver's license. The problem was he was driving recklessly when he killed her.
Well, Mercedes, this is where it gets interesting, because the defense will argue that he doesn't meet the definition of vehicular homicide. You have to prove that he was driving in a grossly negligent manner. And if he had some medical ailment that made his leg go numb, and this was a tragic accident, they may not have him.
You know what's amazing about this, too, is that whether he's in this country legally or not, we'll probably never see the light of day if this goes to trial. That's not an issue for jurors when it comes to these criminal proceedings, unless this individual is being prosecuted for one of the anti-immigration laws. But that's not what we're dealing with here. So he's not going to be identified as an illegal alien, number one.
The jury never gets to hear that?
Does not hear it. In fact, it'll be part of a motion to eliminate. I've confronted it many times.
Pre-trial motion.
Exactly. So in that circumstance, the jury's not going to know that. And secondly, unless there's some motion about credibility, but that's going to be too prejudicial. It's not going to be heard by the jury. End of story. But the gross negligence is really key, because if this is a medical emergency, which obviously the defense attorney is saying this is something that came out completely out of the blue. He had one random numbness months and months and months ago, so he had no way of knowing that the numbness would return and that he would lose control of a car. He may actually walk out of these circumstances.
Jonna, if he walks, this is a sanctuary city. So that means the policy is that the cops don't refer the folks to ICE. So now, I mean, even the Obama administration, which is prioritizing its deportations and so on, says we're still going after felons and serious lawbreakers.
Right.
And so, but if this guy gets acquitted, does he qualify? And even if he does qualify under the Obama administration's definition, does the city refer him for prosecution, given that it's a sanctuary city?
The city probably won't refer him, but ICE, he's already on ICE's radar because of this. In fact, when you were talking about the bail, even if he posted it, Megan, ICE would take over from there, and he will not get out of his cell. So he's on the radar, and they'll do with him what they want. The city sanctuary city doesn't have to refer him at this point. So maybe there might be some justice there, even if he walks.
Mercedes, how much time is he facing in prison then if he does get convicted on this charge?
Up to 10 years.
Is that realistic? Given a prior conviction of DUI, which as far as we know, that plus his driving without a valid license, those are the only criminal violations we know of in terms of convictions.
Right. I mean, John is exactly right. At some point, the immigration authorities are going to step in and deport him. If he is convicted, he's out of the country 10 years after he serves his time. It could be up to 10 years.
This poor girl. I mean,
know, it's tragic.
Family.
As you say, that they immigrated from Ethiopia. This is the only child of this mother who just went. He mustered the strength to go to the spot where she was killed and placed her hands on the soil and said, for her, this isn't about illegal immigration and so on. It's just about who took her daughter and why. Ladies, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Megan.
you.